the actors are only called when they're ready, when they're getting ready and stuff like that. And I think the interesting expression that's used over here are design crews are a step ahead. Makes sense, right? This is a pretty simple expression, but it's one that's used a lot. When you're a step ahead, right, that means you're more advanced, or you're doing it before, right? So first, you have, let's say, construction. Then you have lighting. You have the sound guys get ready, right? So construction might be a step ahead of lighting, which is a step ahead of sound, which is then a step ahead of the actors, or something like that. So it's kind of like, you see, it's like you're a step ahead, right? You're on the top, then you, then you, then you. So this is an expression that you're going to see a lot used in English. He's one step ahead of the competition. Like Apple, right, in the iPad, in the touch device market, is several steps ahead of their competition. Why? Because their devices are the most advanced, right? They're the coolest, they are the most powerful, they're the best, basically, right? So this is an expression that you guys are going to see a lot. And you can see how they're trying to be efficient, right? You only have 24 hours in a day. And especially, sometimes you can only shoot certain scenes right at twilight, right? Right when it's like, just when the sun is setting. So your crews have to be ready. It's like, if you're shooting scene, you have only 10 minutes to do this. Everyone has to be ready, right? So it's kind of stressful. Actually, it's kind of stressful. But when you have such a short time, you have to be really, really efficient. Like when the construction team is done with this set, start working on the scene that's afterwards, and the one that's after that, and the one that's after that, right? So that's the concept of being efficient in this area, right? Shin, could you please read the third paragraph here?
Okay. While the crew prepares their equipment, the actors are clothed in their costumes and attend their hair and makeup departments. The actors rehearse the script and rehearse the script and scenes with the director. The camera and sound crew rehearse with them and make final tweaks. Finally, the action is shot in as many takes as the director wishes. Most American productions follow up.
Oh, sorry, I think this cut out. Okay. Just start reading from the next page. Start reading from the assistant director, AD.
The assistant director calls pictures is up to inform everyone that the take is about to be recorded. And then, quiet everyone. Once everyone is ready to shoot, the AD calls roll sound. To take involved sound. And the production sound mixer will start their equipment, record the verbal slate of the takes information, and announce sound speed when they are ready. The AD follows with roll camera answered by speed by the camera operator once the camera is recording. The clapper, who is already in front of the camera with the clapperboard, calls marker and slaps it shut. If the take involves extras or background action, the AD will cue them.
Cue them, exactly.
Action background. And last is the director telling the actors action.
Okay. So once again, I wanted to keep some of these in here because I think it's really interesting for you guys to see what happens from behind the scenes, right? They use very specific language. So let's look at some of the words that they use over here. So rehearse, right? Have you guys heard the word rehearse before?
Yeah.
So rehearse. When you rehearse, this is to practice, right? So my best friend just got married, right? So for his wedding events, we sang, right? So we had to rehearse many times during the week. So rehearsal is practicing.
Oh.
Rehearsal. Now it makes sense. Like, Sonyoshide, right?
Is it a verb?
Rehearse all the time.
Yeah. Is it a verb?
Yeah, to rehearse is a verb.
Okay.
Rehearsal is the act.
Like
is the act of
singers, right?
Yeah, rehearsal. Yeah, rehearsal is like before the show. Hey, quickly, come on, guys, it's time for rehearsal. So rehearsal over there is the noun, right? It is a situation where you are rehearsing, right? And then over here, they rehearse the script in scenes and make final tweaks. A tweak is an expression that means small change. Right? So the film crew has to, as the actors are rehearsing, right? The film crew also has to basically, they also have to practice filming the scene. On one side, you have the actors. Let's say Minsu and I are the actors. So we're talking to each other while we're walking in this direction, right? The film crew, this is very fascinating. They also have to practice, sometimes you see the cameras on rails, right? They have to regulate, they have to change, okay, how fast should we go? I think let's go a little bit slower. Why? Because if they go too fast, then the frame is moving faster than we are, right? So it actually looks like the camera's moving, right? Whereas you actually just want to make it look like, these guys are walking, and the camera's going at the same exact speed, right? So that they're in the center of the frame. So that would be like a small change, right? We're going to change the speed of the rails, right? So that's where you're making a tweak, right? So that's like an example of that. And then let's see, most American, and then over here, a take is basically, so let's see, I have an interesting story about this. A take is basically a shooting sequence. It could be 8 seconds, right? The scene could be it could be like when the camera starts recording and when the camera stops. When a scene changes, that's a different take each time, right? So let's say one take, if Minsu and I are sitting, let's say Minsu and Pedro in this scene are sitting and having a conversation with each other. One second, the camera's on you, right? 8 seconds, you say something. Take, cut, right? Then we go across to the other side, and the next take is basically this, right? Or we could do this 3 or 4 times, right? There's a very famous director, Japanese director called Nakashima Tetsuya, right? Yeah. So he's very famous because his movies are blockbusters. I think he creates like one movie every 2-3 years. He did a movie called in Japanese it's called Kirawara Matsuko no Isho, but it came out like 5-6 years ago. But it's called Memories of Matsuko. It's a really amazing film, but he's the most strict director. And even the simplest scene, let's say someone walking, he'll do 17, 18 takes. Then he himself decides which one is perfect. And the main actress, Nakatani Miki, she used to keep like a diary, right? And every day she would write that I want to die, or I'm going to kill this guy. She used to say this. So now they joke around about it, but she's saying it took like 1.5 years just to make this movie. It was an amazing movie, but the whole crew was so exhausted. So it was so exhausted at the end of it. Because even the film crew gets tired, right? Oh my God, we have to do this again. Like, so yeah. So and then it follows a specific procedure. That's another example. Specific procedure. Specific means very well defined, very exact, right? Let's say we'll call it exact or well defined. Oh, and guys, one of the things I encourage, you guys are obviously keeping these articles. I want you to go back and words that you're not sure about in your own native languages, in Korean, Japanese, or Spanish, I want you guys to look up the words if you don't understand. And I want you guys to see synonyms for it, right? I want you guys to see many. So something that's exact, something that's very well defined, something that's very focused, right? Something that's specific, right? And procedure is a method, right? It's a method, a way of doing something. So this scene where Minsu and I are walking, the specific procedure of filming this scene is that our camera is going to be set parallel alongside the 2 actors. It's going to move on the rails at 2 miles per hour, and the lighting is going to be 3 feet above the actors. The lighting and the sound mics are going to be exactly 3 feet above the actors. Because we want to capture some sound from the streets as well, to make it seem like they're really walking along a busy street. That's a specific procedure. Why? Because it's exact, it's well defined, it's very focused, and it's the method that you're using. Right? Do you understand? Okay, and over here, basically, like, once again, this is just more for your interest, really. The AD rolling the camera and everything like that. And this is the one other word, cue. word cue, as you see over here, if the take involves extras or background action, the AD will cue them. To cue means to signal. Right? Basically what
is it English?
Yeah.
I know cue, but is it English?
I think it is English. It could be a derivative of another language, but I'm pretty sure it's English. Now this is different from, it has the same pronunciation as cue, which means a line. And a queue is more, it's used in England. Like a queue is a line of people, right? We say Japanese people always form queues, right? They always form lines, right? You know, Koreans always form lines, right? So this is basically like but it's the same pronunciation. But this queue is spelled differently, and it's got it's totally different meaning. Queue over here means to signal, right? So if we, so let's say, okay, so the next scene, right, is Shin is in a ring and he's boxing with another guy, right? And the background, all the extras are in the crowd, right? So when they start the sequence where Shin is dodging and punching the guy, they want the people in the background, all of us, to be like cheering like crazy. So over here what they're saying is that the assistant director signals that right when he says action, he signals and everyone's like, their job is to, you know, raise your beers and be shouting and jumping as Shin in this scene dodges and punches the guy, right? So that's cueing, to signal them, okay? Pedro, could you read the next paragraph, please?
The take is over when the director calls cut and camera and sound stop recording. The script supervisor will note any continuity issues and the sound. The camera teams log technical notes for the take on their respective report sheet. If the director decides additional takes are required, the whole process repeats. Once satisfied, the crew moves on to the next camera angle or setup until the whole scene is covered. When shooting is finished for the scene, the assistant director declares a wrap or moving on, and the crew will strike or dismantle the set for that scene.
Okay. So once again, this is just continuing, you know, to how a take is finished up. So let's see now. The script supervisor will note any continuity issues. Continuity, right? So it's a little bit of an advanced word, but that's why you got to take in these classes. Is the act of being continuous. Of being continuous. So what does this mean? Okay, I'll give you an example. So let's say in this scene, right, where Minsu and Pedro are talking, right, and the camera switches from this perspective to the opposite perspective. Let's imagine that this is a clear wine glass, okay, and it's like full. Okay. So in this scene, we're seeing that Minsu's there and he's talking to Pedro, and there's a full wine glass over there, right? So 2 scenes later, you know how it's switching back and forth? You know, if all the wine is gone, right? It's kind of strange because we didn't see Minsu drinking it, right? So maybe that's a continuity issue, right? Because it looks like that doesn't make sense. Why is the wine gone? Or why are there 2 glasses of wine? We didn't see anyone come in and serve another one. So that's a continuity issue. That's something that you want to avoid, right? You want to make it basically the audience wants to believe that this is true, right? That this is a real situation, right? So those are the types of continuity issues where, you know, after the scene is shot, you're basically looking at the camera, right? And you're watching the scene unfold. You're watching it happen, and then you're looking at all the little details. Is that clock still working? You know, one that's huge, right? Is if there's a clock behind you, right? And if it takes like 10 minutes to film something, but they're having a conversation that's going on right now. If it was like 4 o'clock and suddenly the next scene you see that's 4:15, you're like, wait.